Gorgeous, gorgeous people, how are you? It's me, Ed Stott, with your weekly serving of science-backed self-improvement. I am super excited for today's episode. We've got someone on who's kind of a big deal. And no, I'm not talking about myself. Someone who's actually a big deal. You probably know Taryn Brumfitt from her fabulous viral before and after photo on Facebook in 2013. The two images of Taryn side by side, one in a bikini posed on stage and the other relaxed and nude, launched a global movement. Since then, Taryn has released 2 international films, published 3 best-selling books, was named Australian of the Year in 2023, and has even been invited to the White House. She's now turning her attention to children with the release of her kids' book, Chico The Schnauzer, and she's here joining us today to share everything she knows about raising children and kids with body neutrality, a huge topic that is fraught and very tricky to navigate. But let me tell you, she has some wonderful insights that you can find incredibly helpful. I was just watching your press club speech from last year. First of all, oh my gosh, that suit. Oh, so beautiful.
It was a bit of, one of my favorite suits ever. Anything I've ever worn, I reckon that one was great.
Stunning. You looked incredible. Yeah. And second of all, how incredible your story. It made me cry because body image has always been something that I've dealt with. And I think so many people who are millennials and were raised in the 2000s have that horrendous experience. But I'm also 28 weeks pregnant. So my body image is being tested to its limits right now. So when you were talking, it was exactly what I needed to hear. So thank you so much. And if anybody's not heard that speech, they should absolutely go and listen to it because it was beautiful. And there's so many brilliant, helpful things in there. So yeah, I just wanted to say I loved it so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And, when you think about being 28 weeks pregnant and all those things that change about your body, it's just try to focus as much as you can on how extraordinary that your body is growing hands and feet and eyes and ears. And it's just like I marvel in what we can do with our bodies. So hopefully you can focus on just, give yourself a high five every day. You're growing things inside your body.
Lovely. Wow. Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying my hardest, but it's very odd when your boobs just won't stop growing and your belly, you have no idea where it's going to get to and you just feel like an egg on legs, but I'm going with it. So that is a great piece of advice. I really appreciate it. Now, can you tell me briefly, I think people will be really quite familiar with your story after your viral 2013 post around, that before and after picture that so many people will have connected with. But tell me about your own body image journey and where you found yourself, when you had 3 kids under 5, and the kind of the journey that you've been on since then.
Yeah, to distill it down in really simple ways, I was hating my body and I wanted to change it. I allowed all of the advertising and the imagery that I saw impact on how and the thoughts I had about my body. And I did that comparisonitis that we all do so much of. And unfortunately, as humans, we're wired to do that. We're wired to compare. So it's not something that you can actually tame or control. It's automated. What we do have control over is actually, though, what happens next and how kind we are to ourselves in our thinking and the things we say to ourselves. But for me, I hated my body, decided I wanted her body. I went and got it by training obsessively and dieting and weighing my food and multiple times at a gym per day. And I got the body. And then, of course, I wasn't happy because it just took so much time and obsession for my body shape to have, when I say her body, I mean that sort of stereotypical bikini body that so many of us have grown up with. So for me, it's an interesting sort of journey to get that and still be dissatisfied. And it got me thinking about why I felt that particular way, what messages I'd allowed in. But mostly what that experience did for me was I think really getting intuitive and getting connected, actually, getting connected with my body and focusing on more about how it feels as opposed to how it looks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Celeste Barber does such a great job in the Embrace Kids film of distilling that down as a concept, because of course, I still like getting my hair done and I dress up on occasion. I sometimes wear makeup. All the choices that I make about my body are my choices, but I still enjoy those things. So it's not about saying you can't do any of that. It's just about the balance. And my lead every day is, how do I feel? How do I feel in my body as opposed to how do I look in my body? It's a sort of it's a PS, it's not the be all and end all. And that is so liberating. And that's the opportunity that we all have to strike that balance.
It's been really liberating for me. I'm big on intuitive eating and then intuitive movement. And for me, it's been absolutely life-changing to think about how exercise or food is going to make my body feel rather than thinking about how it's going to make it look. Like for me, that's absolutely been a game changer in how I relate to my body, 100%. And I guess that goes back to the pregnancy thing, right? Like thinking about what your body's capable of rather than those external cues that are just, completely unattainable and bullshit. And nobody looks like that. Nobody actually is like that. But now you've moved your attention with this new book, Chico The Schnauzer, to kids and with Embrace Kids, and you're kind of dealing with that. What have you noticed in terms of like the 10 years that you've been doing this? And now you've said that, when it comes to kids, this is a pediatric health emergency. What have you noticed in that time in terms of how things have shifted and how maybe social media has kind of put a gaslight under this and really got things going when it comes to the terrible situation that we're in with kids and their body image?
Yeah, I think the thing with social media is that we've all forgotten that we actually control what we see. Of course, there's algorithms, but we are actually in the driver's seat, so we get to choose who we follow and what we engage with. And Jamila Jamil, global activist, actor, awesome human being,
Love her.
In the Embrace Kids films, says 4 words that have just been so meaningful for kids and adults alike to hear when it comes to social media. And she says, block, mute, delete, repeat. Anyone that's making her feel bad about her body or her body image, she blocks, mutes, deletes, and repeats that situation. Yeah. And it's a really interesting. Social media came along. We all kind of went, oh, this shiny new object. We all jumped onto it. We did the thing and we updated our statuses and we told people random stuff about what we'd done in the day. And then, I don't even know how long it's been around for. Let's just call it, 15 years, whatever it is. But now I think everyone's sort of come to this place of like, oh, like, hang on, I don't feel so
exhausting.
Good. Well, that's right. It is exhausting. We do comparisonitis. There's a great Steve Furtick quote that I talk about in every one of my keynote talks, and that's about he says we compare our behind the scenes with everyone else's highlight reel, and we do so much of that. So what I would encourage everyone to do, and this is what I say to kids, is fill up your feed with people who inspire you to be a better person. What are your hobbies? Put some fun stuff in there, if your cat videos, whatever it needs to be. But please don't look at bodies. Don't put bodies in your feed, because all you're going to do is go, I want this and I want less of that. And I feel crap, and look at their hot body and look at mine. And so just be mindful, and you're in charge.
Absolutely. And this isn't just theoretical. There's a lot of evidence to support that seeing positive body image in or even body neutrality in your feed actually helps with your own body image, right?
Exactly. And I think we know that as little as 7 minutes on Instagram looking at bodies can make people feel anxious and depressed. As little as 7 minutes. So I kind of feel like we're all arriving at a place where we're feeling the fallout of it. And now it's time for us to make good choices about who we allow into our lives. Because, if we had someone in our lives that was kind of, mean to us and saying awful things, we would, eject them somehow.
Totally.
But we have that same opportunity on social media too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when it comes to kids, social media is one side of things, but when we're working through this in our own body image, it can be really tricky to work with our kids and kind of pass on a healthy relationship with their bodies. What are the kind of key things that you recommend for people to do to support their kids in having a healthy relationship with their body?
Yeah, I mean, we're kings and queens to our kids. They're watching everything that we say and do. So first thing that we can all do is be really mindful about the language we use in front of our children, and anyone's children, even if you don't have kids. Just be mindful about what you say in front of young ones. And I think if we can adopt a rule to never say anything negative about our bodies or anyone else's bodies again, that is pretty much a fast track to global change if we all did that. I mean, I've noticed it in my circle of friends that we just don't go there. We just, it's just, and teaching, young kids, it's actually one of the best parts of my job is teaching, kids in schools that the least interesting thing about them is the way they look. And I see the penny drop and I'm like, I want to know who you are. And, what's interesting to me is your energy. And I don't know what footy team you barrack for. What are your hobbies? What do you do? Like, who are you? And again, it's just adopting that balance. So language is critical, but they're watching us too. So how can we move our bodies in ways that bring us joy? Let's not go to the gym because we're trying to fit into jeans, or go for the run because you ate the chocolate cake. Whatever the language is, I've heard it all over the years. How can we move our bodies, nourish our bodies, respect our bodies, but mostly how can we show our kids that we enjoy our bodies? It's pretty infectious, I have to say, this embrace your body stuff. I've often joked in the media many times that embracing your body should come with like 100% money back guarantee, because I've never met anyone who's learned to embrace their body and kind of gone, oh, this is shit. Everyone who's learned to embrace their body goes, wow, this is life-changing. And I want to say it's different for everyone. What looks like embracing to me might not look like embracing to someone else. So it's about being respectful in everyone's choices, not only about their bodies, but also how, their body image and how they relate to their bodies.
And so I'm sure this was a journey that you were on long before, you kind of went viral and became known for this. But in the last, you talk about this, your work is focused on it. Do even you have moments where it's tricky to feel like you're comfortable with your body? I guess what I'm getting at is this isn't a one fix and you're done, right?
No, that's the thing about embracing your body. We have really exceptional resources. Even just the first film, Embrace, that's still on Netflix since 2016.
Amazing.
We even have academics who did research on that film that was published in a medical journal to say that women who had seen that film had a high appreciation of their body image. So we have, really powerful resources that change and help people. But you're so right. It's not like you just go, oh, I'll just tick that box and here I am embracing, because your body's always changing. Yours in particular right now is going through the greatest change probably since puberty, but so I think it's a commitment to embrace through all the changes. For me, I live and breathe this space. I talk about bodies and body image every day, and I have, an exceptional relationship with my body. I would say, to be honest, the only time that I've questioned or gone, oh, this is a new feeling I've not had in many years, is when my marriage broke down in 2020, and then I was dating, and I was like, oh my gosh, a man's got to see my body. And he's not been on the journey of 3 kids, 3 pregnancies, 4,000 meals fed from my breast. He doesn't know this body. He's not going to just come in and just respect how incredible it is. And it was a little blip in my thinking that then I pretty much got over very quickly, because I was like, yeah, nah, I'm only going to choose a man that's going to be as devoted to my body as I am to my own body. Left the lights on and went for him. So, and got over it pretty quickly. But it was a little blip in the system where it was like, oh my gosh. But aside from that, you know what? No, I just have so much, awe, of my body has to do a lot for me. I have a lot of energy. I expect a lot from it. I do a lot with it. It's wonderful and it's very joyful. As I say, what does embracing look like to you? That's what everyone needs to focus on for themselves.
Oh, I'm just drinking this in. I love it. So critics say, and we've seen a lot of talk of this in the media recently, that this kind of thinking encourages obesity and an unhealthy lifestyle. What do you say to that?
Everyone thinks there's a massive divide around this, and it's just it's quite infuriating actually, because what we know and what the science tells us is that people with a higher appreciation of their bodies are more likely to look after their bodies. Mm-hmm. For our young people in particular, the higher appreciation of body, they're more likely to eat fruit and vegetables, and they're more likely to move their body. They're more likely to wear sunscreen. They're less likely to drink, smoke, take illicit drugs and vape. Like, I think everyone I think in this country, there is a disproportionate care in other people's health. So first and foremost, I think everyone needs to kind of mind their own business. Mm-hmm. I think that we need to recognise as a nation that shame and stigma has not got us anywhere and doesn't drive long-term health behaviours that apparently we all want. So I think it's a case of let the science do the speaking, mind your own business, and know that people, who embrace their body or, accept their body or feel neutral about their body, they're more likely to look after it.
I love that. And just stop commenting on people's bodies. How have people not got the message already? Literally, right?
We're so complex, right? I've had this conversation so many times. I actually talk about, I actually share a story about my brother because he was, people would call him tall and dark and handsome and whatever they would say about him. But to the eye, he seemed quite physically, fit and handsome, and he had it all going on. And he played Sean Penn's movie double in The Thin Red Line. And he was, and he was magnetic as well as a human. Now, if I put Jason next to a man in a much larger body and then asked 100 people, who do you think's healthier out of these two men? All of them would have chosen Jason. 100 out of 100 would have looked at him and gone, oh, my God, yes, you're way healthier. But Jason was a heroin addict, and he died from his addiction, on a park bench opposite Central train station in Sydney, at 27 years of age. So I just I tell that story as often as I can because I think if anyone's got any if anyone's sort of quick to judge, somebody else's health by how they look, it really kind of stops them in their tracks because you just can't. A, it's not your business, but also you don't know. And I think the third thing I would say also is that health isn't just physical. Health is mental and spiritual and emotional too. So up there on stage in my perfect bikini body, physically, people would have gone, wow, look at you. But mentally and emotionally, I was not great living off egg whites and chicken and broccoli, let me tell you.
I absolutely believe you. As someone who's also been there and absolutely tried to starve themselves, I can tell you that my lowest weights have been my absolute unhappiest. It just does not equate at all. And so when it comes to kids and even ourselves, what is the goal? Is it body positivity or is it body neutrality?
Yeah, I think body positivity is actually a term that we moved away from a few years ago. And it's really interesting because someone tapped me on the shoulder and just kind of more or less said, for me to love my body, it's too much of a stretch. I just can't. And it got me thinking that, I'm a bit of a hard or fast or, all in kind of person. So for me, when I embrace, I'm like, I love my body. And it really had to, this person really helped me widen my thinking, that that's just not possible. So for me, it's not body positivity. Body neutrality is amazing, but I actually talk a lot about just body acceptance. Focus on the functionality of your body and what your body can do. And, you know, it's not just like writing affirmations on the mirror and being like, I am beautiful. Like it's so much deeper than that. And I think that's the place that people are starting to get to in this kind of, you know, world of quick likes and, you know, comments on socials. And I think we're understanding that dopamine, that hit of dopamine is not kind of, it's not long lasting, and it's not actually not that meaningful.
Not at all. And so, you know, for a lot of us, if we're on our own, you know, journey to getting comfortable with our body, I guess we start externally by, you know, talking more positively or, you know, not judging other people, not discussing other people's bodies, like you say, with our friends and that kind of thing. When internally our monologue can be very different, and we can be very, very critical of not just our personal bodies, but of other people's bodies internally. Are there any things that you've found, like for yourself, that have really helped you shift that internal conversation when it comes to your body and your relationship with it?
Yeah, I think for me, it's been more of an awareness and trying to catch those thoughts. I think for a long time, they felt almost like I'd normalized some of that thinking in my own head.
Yeah.
You're with me on that?
Totally.
And then I think it's actually just not leaving yourself to your own thoughts too. I think widening the circle and having friends come on the journey with you and unpacking some of this with them can be really helpful. But I think in terms of, you know, embracing our bodies and understanding the way that we think and why we think the way we do, I actually think it's an education process that we, as part of the journey to committing to embracing our body, that we need to accept that you just can't tick the box and it's just done. I think you need to immerse yourself in other people's stories, other people's challenges, situations, you know, their whys, all of that. Maybe just widening the circle and getting out of our own head a little bit more. Storytelling is, you know, I guess it's why I'm a filmmaker. Storytelling is it's just such a heart connector, isn't it? And I think that's what we need to do, is communicate more, tell more stories, and probably most of all, listen to more stories.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I guess that's how we can turn our social media feed into something that can be really toxic, into something that's actually really helpful on our body journey. You know, it could be a massive tool, because you see so many stories and have access to so many insights that potentially that could be like the ultimate superpower when it comes to changing our perception of our bodies. I love it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and we control that. So, you know, my time on lots of people bitch about social media. It's like, oh my God, I hate it, and there's this and that and the other. I actually love the really small amount of time each day that I spend on social media, because people in my feed are people that, you know, I look up to and I admire, and they make me want to be a better person. So my experience is actually, you know, it's quite motivating. That's the only experience I want to have on socials. And I think we need to get a little bit discerning, everyone, about who they're allowing in.
Definitely. And it's like the thoughts that we think in our own head that we think aren't affecting us, you know, the social media feed that we think isn't affecting us, about being a little bit more mindful about what these things are actually doing to us is a massive part of this. If we only take one thing from this conversation when it comes to our journey with our bodies and getting a better relationship with our bodies for ourselves and our kids, what's the one thing you want people to remember?
Well, the one thing I want people to do is never say anything negative about their bodies or anyone else's bodies again. For the parents who are listening, to please watch the Embrace Kids documentary with your kids. It's on Binge and Foxtel and other places that I probably should know. And for anyone else, you know, that film Embrace, that's got that nice piece of academic data sitting next to it now, you know, watch it. And then, there's so many free resources that we put out through the Embrace Collective. That's our charity for the prevention of eating disorders and body image issues. So you can go to the embracehub.com, follow along on socials. I gave you 6. You asked for 1. I'm sorry. I broke all the rules there. I just want to make sure that everyone's armed with, everything that they need, because I like to get practical. And I'm hoping that people who listen to this podcast might just think, you know what? Yeah, I don't love the way I treat myself, my body, and how I talk about it. And yes, I do want to embrace my body a little bit more. And I guess I just want everyone listening to know that there's something for you for every step of the way. It's mostly free, and lots of it, films and books, can be quite entertaining too.
I also just love that message that we're in control of this. We think that we're at the whim of the algorithm and what's marketing companies and what's being shown to us. But if we move more towards these platforms of education and following people on Instagram who are actually supporting this, supporting brands who actually support body positivity and body inclusivity, we are in the driver's seat of this. We don't have to put up with these crappy messages that we're being told, but you also have to show that with your money and with your attention and with the things that you do. Like, we are totally in control of this and we can turn this around.
Yeah, we can. I think that's the kind of, I don't want anyone to think, like it's like Pollyanna, let's change the world, but kind of like as Jamil said, that we can, because we are the ones in control. So yeah, absolutely. We should all play our role.
Yeah, now's the time. Thank you so much, Taryn. I really appreciate you sparing me the time.
My pleasure. Nice to catch up.
My guest today was Taryn Brumfitt. She was named Australian of the Year 2023, and her latest book is called Chico The Schnauzer. You'll find a link to it and all of Taryn's work in the show notes, so make sure you check it out. If you're just joining me, make sure you subscribe, because I am here every week sharing with you everything you need to know to build your best life, one episode at a time, with the intel from some of the world's finest experts, much like the gorgeous Taryn. So make sure you subscribe. And if you've been here for a little while and you're enjoying it, please leave me a review wherever you're listening. It takes about 2 seconds. You can do it on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. There's generally a way to leave a review if you are tuning in via an app. So please make sure you do that. I would really appreciate it. I'm Ed Stott. Until next time, I sincerely hope that's helpful.